First time I went live, it went live before I wanted it to. Let's do it. Welcome, welcome.
Okay.
Got it going for you guys in a second. Yeah, we're gonna letting everybody get in. Big night, big night. Yeah, welcome. Going out the way. Shalom, Mama E. E, Mom, we got a great show. Letting everybody get in tonight. I don't want to miss too much right there. Yeah, man. So tonight we have, you know, let me put this back. Yeah. All right. So, welcome to the Hebrew state of being. We are your humble hosts and servants for the night. I am Kayel.
And I am Oba.
Yes. Well, it has been quite a journey on
it
Hebrew
has.
state of being up until this
It
point.
has.
I guess we're kind of on a recap type thing tonight. And as we are coming out of and starting something new. So we're recapping on one hand of our kingdom work, which will be us premiering our film, our short film
Yes.
tonight, the downtown Indian culture. At the same time, we have completed the Wisdom of Solomon out of the Apocrypha, and also have completed the downtown Indian culture short film. We're also going to be finishing up the Uptown as well, which we will be showing both of those together sometime soon. Go to blackmasking.org and sign up, and you'll get your email for when that is going to happen. But as we have ended our completion of filming and putting together this work, it is now time for us to give it to you guys
Yes.
and allow you guys to digest the information that we have compiled and worked diligently to give to you guys in a format that we feel is palatable and one that you can follow. Because it's a lot of information.
It's a lot of information, y'all.
Wait, let me say that again. It's a lot of information. Is it
Y'all
a
got
lot of information?
Y'all got it.
It's a lot of information when we're talking about who we are and we're peeling back the onion of truly who we are with facts and not just conversation or desires or hopes or things that we may identify with. Finding the actual facts is what we try to do our best and submit to you guys. So in that sense, we are now giving this out to everyone for your consumption, digestion, and to give back your feedback. As we are out of the book of Wisdom of Solomon, we are now going into two things: Exodus, and in time, we are dealing with Passover coming next month. So it is only right that we start with Exodus as we are talking about this film, and this film that we are showing tonight is going to speak about exoduses.
Yeah.
It's going to speak of our people leaving and migrating, specifically to us here in New Orleans, and not to the world. But remember, our movie is about New Orleans. and that we are showing specifically in New Orleans that those Hebrews that fled from the Exodus, that in Obadiah, and it speaks of the Hebrews being in Safar, which is now known as Spain. We show from that point that the Hebrews that were in the Iberian Peninsula in Spain during the 711 to 1492 Reconquista, they fled to the Americas. And those Hebrews also connected with what we also believe were the children of Peleg that were here that were here before the divide of the continents. So it's a lot, it's a lot of information going, and it's a lot of moving parts because most of us only know about the transatlantic slave trade. We are not familiar with the Spanish slave trade. Many of us don't really connect the conquistas with New Orleans. We connected with Brazil and South America, but the conquista and the reconquistas in Spain and the conquistas in Brazil, all are the same people because the Soto, who came from Spain, subjugated in Brazil, and then came to Southeast North America, from Florida to Louisiana, same person who discovered North America because remember, Christopher Columbus never got here. He's only in Haiti. He stopped there in Hispaniola, right? So, Exodus, learning that is a form of Exodus. Our people exited from Safar and came here. And then we had another issue because when we came here, we hit the East Coast, right? Chitimacha Indians, the Blackfoot, the Iroquois, the Shinnecook, all of these tribes, the East Coast, were hit by this called these DeSoto, right? But mostly Chitimacha and Choctaw. They migrated all the way to Louisiana, which is now Natchez, Mississippi, but it was Natchez, Louisiana at the time, and it was called Indian Village. And then the second Trail of Tears, the most popular Trail of Tears that everyone hears about, that led to the Oklahoma Wall Street, Black Wall Street, that was the migration of them splitting from Natchez, Mississippi now, or was Natchez, Louisiana, and half coming to New Orleans and the rest going north to Oklahoma. So just in that little short time, that was a lot of information to peel back. So this movie, we tried to put all of that together in a clear, linear story for you guys to follow.
I hope
So
you enjoy it.
we pray that we think that you're gonna enjoy it. But before we get into that work, we got to get into the Most High's work. Y'all know how we do on the Hebrew State of Being. We lead with the Most High. So we're gonna go through Exodus 12 through 21 tonight is what we're gonna read. So why is Exodus important? Why the movie Downtown Indian is important for us to know about? Because it shows the parallel of the devil and the Most High. It shows how the devil has put its days, its holidays next to our feast days. How it has put its maps next to our migration and exoduses, right? So with our exodus coming out of Egypt, which is how the world knows us as the chosen people.
Yeah.
It is the story, the one story in the world, really, that I know of. Maybe, my brother has traveled and he can correct me right now, but it's the only story I know of in the world that are a group of people that the God, the Most High came down and did something miraculous, saved them from the all of the emperors, rulers, and so forth, and did miraculous things for a group of people. I don't know if you ever heard of a
Besides
story.
the Mexicans.
Yeah, which are part of the tribe. Yeah. So with this, and as the Mexicans, the Mayans, the Aztecs, they were following Miche, which we know as Moses. And they went into Mexico looking for the sign biblically that they were told that they will receive, which is still today the flag of Mexico, and as an eagle with a snake in its mouth sitting on a cactus. It is the flag of Mexico today, and it is written in scripture of that's those people of what where they would stop migrating. So Exodus, let's talk about our Exodus and the Passover, because Easter is what they put alongside our holiday. Just like we are Black Indians from Haiti to all through North America, but they give you the Mongolian Indians as the representation of the indigenous people to this land. You have to look at the way that they always put them next to the truth. The devil, let's just call it what it is. The devil puts himself next to the Most High. He parallels him. That's why, and I'll move in there, you'll see the chief says there's only two types of Indians. They are innovators and duplicators. The devil is a duplicator. So you will see many of what we call society today and what they call the matrix, that we are living in a ulterior universe, or ultra universe. The altered universe is the Roman Empire that we live in. Our matrix is that we are living in the days, times of the Roman Grecan calendar, which has us in a altered mind state, on a matrix, so to speak, living that world. Easter is a large proponent of that, major proponent of that, because everybody says they count us around the year for that. Mardi Gras is set by Easter.
Yep. And let all that jazz.
Thank you, my brother. This is all set by this date. But the Roman Catholics would have you believe that this is a time of the death of Yahushua, and that we are celebrating that with a rabbit that has eggs.
I didn't know rabbits laid eggs.
You didn't know? Well, just ask the Roman Empire and their matrix. You can get bunnies with pink eggs. So, Passover is when the Most High killed everybody but the ones, his children and Yahudim, that slaughtered a lamb and placed the blood, smeared the blood above their doorpost, so that the angel of death would pass over their house to the next house, where he killed all of the firstborn. That's what Passover is about. What would you rather celebrate? Would you rather celebrate the Most High giving you a bunny that has eggs? Or would you like to celebrate the fact that he killed everyone in your community's firstborn but you, because you were his child? I don't know. I think I'm gonna celebrate Passover instead of Easter. Because when we look at it, they got so much what I call knowledge wrapped up with Easter and Passover. Yeah. They get into the, did he die on the Sabbath? Did the Hebrews have enough time to bury him, wrap him, and then him be risen so that he can fit into the Roman Gregorian calendar?
That's both.
It's right. It's not supposed to. So yes, We have the confoundment of knowledge. Everybody knows something. Now we got to put all of that know something together and use the what? Scientific method. And the devil created the method in which we are going to decide what the Most High has done. Sir Francis Bacon was the president of the Helmet Society, which praised Athena, which was the daughter of Zeus, which in the ancient times was Donna, the goddess, the goddess of Donna. I don't know, I forgot how to pronounce it, but it's the goddess Donna. Yeah, look it up. Goddess of Donna is Zeus. This is demonic. This comes from Thoth. This comes from Egyptian deity system. It is not of the Most High. So a person that created the York House, that created the devilish language that we speak, Sir Francis Bacon, who also has the rights for masonry, which we all know is devil worshiping, right? It all has all the connections to Baphomet, all these connections to Solomon and the cryptic knowledge. So this man, Sir Francis Bacon, created the scientific method, which says if you can't measure it by Roman numbers and systems, it does not exist. And this is the same people that killed Yahushua, the Romans, who then turned around and created a religion called Christianity, Catholic, behind them killing him and saying that, hey, we didn't kill him. It was the Jews that killed him. And the Khazarians said, yeah, we'll take that charge so we can prove that we are the chosen people when we are not. When we are converted, they'll say, yeah, we'll say it, but we'll say he wasn't the Messiah, though. We'll say that in our Judaism, Zionistic, we'll say that Yahushua was not the Messiah. He did not come for our sins. He was not the Lamb. You see how they get the trick bag together? One take one side of the story, another take the other side of the story. Roman Catholics give you the religion, while the Jewish ensure the slave ships that bring you here. Oh, they working together, baby. Oh, they working together. Twerking it. So when we're talking about Easter or Passover, Yahweh's death, all these information, understand that in Exodus, it speaks of saving our firstborn children. It is part of our release from Egypt, from our captures. That's what Passover is about. My brother, would you like to read 12, verse 1?
Absolutely. Exodus chapter 12, verse 1. And the Most High said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, this month shall mark for you the beginning of the months. It shall be the first of the months of the year for you. Speak to the whole community of Israel and say that on the 10th of this month, each of them shall take a lamb to a family, a lamb to a household. But if the household is too small for a lamb, let him share one with a neighbor who dwells nearby, in proportion to the number of persons. You shall contribute for the lamb according to what each household will eat.
Now, let me stop right here. The reason why the Most High is being specific about this, because as you'll read, we are supposed to follow these instructions for generations to celebrate this, the Passover. And we are supposed to eat and act as they did when they were fleeing. So the Exodus is about eating little, being humble, taking 11 out of your heart. So what he's speaking of, you only was slaughtered just enough for you to eat because you're about to be leaving. Not enough to fatten up the house and eat for a week from now. So go on, my brother.
Your lamb shall be without blemish, a yearling male. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. You shall keep watch over it until the 14th day of the month. And all the assembled
Mike, yeah.
congregation of the Israelites shall slaughter it at twilight. They shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they are to eat it. They are to eat the flesh that same night. They shall eat it roasted over the fire with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or cooked in any way with water, but roasted, head, legs, and entrails over the fire. You shall not leave any of it over until the morning.
You shall burn it. Have you ever gone to your church and seen this specific? Have your pastor or your preacher ever been specific with you about exactly what the Most High wants you to do? Or do they just give you a concept? Let me give you the smoke. Everybody start singing. Choir start singing. We blowing the smoke, baby. Start singing. Lord Jesus. No. Most High is specific. He's not leaving you in the wind. Go on, my brother.
Yeah, I'm just,
Going forward, yeah.
yeah, it's just, my mind is just constantly blown by every single, sorry.
Yeah.
If any of it is left until morning, you shall burn it. This is how you shall eat it: your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand.
Whoa. Now, he not only did he tell you how to prepare the food, first he told you how much to prepare, what to do with the access. Then he told you how to cook the food. Now he's telling you exactly how to eat the food. And it says the first thing in eating, you got to girt your loins. Do y'all know what girt? My brother, would you give them a loose definition of girt thy loins?
Man up.
Oh, thank you. Man
Man
up.
up.
Yeah, man up. So, in order to eat this Passover meal, because you're about to leave, remember, this is Exodus. The Most High is speaking to you as getting you ready for your journey. Go on, my brother.
You shall eat it hurriedly. It is a Passover offering to the Most High. For that night I will go through the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn in the land of Egypt.
He is saying that this is not a meal for you to enjoy. You're eating, preparing for your journey, but this is a sacrifice unto me. So this meal that you eat on Passover with your family is not just a meal. It is an actual sacrifice that you're putting through your what? Temple. Go on, my brother.
I will go to the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And I will mete out punishments to all the gods of Egypt.
All the
I,
gods of
the Most
who?
High.
All the gods of who?
Egypt.
All the gods of America? Mizraim? Second. If Egypt is the same gods as Greek, and Greek is the Roman Empire, so maybe it's the same people. Go on, my brother.
And the blood on the houses where you are staying shall be a sign for you. When I see the blood, I will pass over you.
What he will do? What when he sees the
When I
blood?
see the blood, I will pass over
The
you.
blood of your sacrifice. The blood of your sacrifice. Go on.
So that no plague will destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt.
The land, the neighborhood, the nation, the community, the entire continent. Go on.
This day shall be to you one of remembrance. You shall celebrate it as a festival to the Most High throughout the ages. You shall celebrate it as an institution for all time.
For all. Not for that. Wait, it said an institution for what time?
All time.
For medieval times.
For all time.
Dark Ages.
All time.
Renaissance.
All time.
All right.
7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the very first day you shall remove leaven from your houses.
Leaven. Leaven is a big thing. But you pull that up, my brother. Pull up the definition for leaven, because we have to understand that this also is parable. I guess we can call it, for lack of a better word. When they say take out the leaven, it means the yeast that makes the flour grow. It's the element of bread that makes it soft and sweet. See, unleavened is about being humble and understanding that being humble isn't always sweet. The rewards of it is, but the actual act of it, not necessarily. What do you have, my brother?
Yes. Leaven, to a mass of sourdough, which mixed with a larger quantity of dough or paste produces fermentation in it and renders it light.
Light.
During the 7 days of the Passover, no leaven was permitted to be in the houses of the Jews.
See, it's the celebration of saying nothing like we ate heavy, we ate without taste, we sacrificed as we were leaving. See, the ones that didn't believe that we were being delivered didn't kill the lamb, didn't put the blood. They kicked it with their Romans. They was at Easter. Yeah. See, they was at Easter trying to get their position up, you know, doing the selfies with the going to church and taking pictures with whoever running for office right now, right? Go, yeah, the politicians sit down and because they know everybody go to church on Easter and Christmas in New Orleans, right? So you got your politicians, you got your everybody taking a picture. They got the Sunday best. New Orleans got concerts. We are into the paganistic holiday of Easter. Hardcore. We buy our kids special outfits. We hit the lakefront. We do this, huh? Do we slide ourselves? Well, back in the days we did. We said, this is the day that, our captors have allowed us to get some time off from going to work. We got a couple of days off because they celebrating the Easter thing. So, it's just a time for us to get together. Well, since it just so happened to be running right along with Passover, you might want to take that time to not celebrate those days and not go by the family and partake in a, ham for Easter. You might not want to partake in that there. You may want to make sure that you don't have any flour in your house for the 7 days. The fast rising flour, all-purpose flour, that is leaven modern day. No flour in your house. It is symbolically for you to remind yourself that you are in a humble state. You don't buy any cupcakes on the street just because you throw it out your house. Don't mean you get to eat it on the street either. Okay? You don't go by Big Mama and she got a brand new batch of cookies and you just like, hey. Nah. So, go on, my brother. We can go on and read.
On the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day to the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Israel.
Whoa, no. Most High not tripping. I just ate a little piece of cake. What's going to happen to me?
You're going to be cut off.
Wait. I've been praying all year. I've been doing everything I'm supposed to do.
Cut off.
The Most High said, if you can't for 7 days, not eat flour with cakes and bread that rise. You're supposed to eat flat bread in that time. No cornbread. I mean, if you can't do that for 7 days, if you can't keep it on your mind for 7 days to do something small like that, he's not telling you to go and sacrifice a lamb. His son was the last one. Remember, he was the last lamb. That's this whole thing, right? So you don't have to do that. He's not asking for that. Just saying, take the flour out your house so you don't make a mistake and cook with it. Take it out your house physically. It's just like writing your math problems. Yeah, you could probably do 2 plus 2 equals 4, but when you write 2 plus 2 equals 4, it becomes ingrained in your mind. So physically taking that flour out of your house or not purchasing that flour for that week, it puts you in the mind state of understanding. When you go to work and people offer you cakes and whatnot and donuts, you get to edify the Most High and say, oh no, I'm respecting the Passover. No leaven for me, I won't be. And then someone gets to ask you, and then you get to be messianic. See how that circle go? Go on, my brother. Read on.
You shall celebrate a sacred occasion on the first day, and a sacred occasion on the seventh day. No work at all shall be done on them, only what every person is to eat. That alone may be prepared for you.
That alone.
You shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For on this very day I brought your ranks out of the land of Egypt. You shall observe this day throughout the ages as an institution for all time. In the first month of the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. No leaven shall be found in your houses for 7 days. For whosoever eats what is leavened, that person shall be cut off from the community of Israel.
Israel.
Whether he is a stranger or a citizen of the country. You shall eat nothing leavened in all your settlements. You shall eat unleavened bread.
Moses then summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, go pick out lambs for your families and slaughter the Passovering. Take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in blood that is the basin, and apply some of the blood that is in the basin to the lintel and to the 2 doorstops. None of you shall go outside of your doors of his house until morning. For when the Most High goes through to smite the Egyptians, he will see the blood on the lintel and the doorstops, and the Most High will pass over the door and not let the destroyer enter and smite your home. Yeah. So now I'm not going to go with the dates. As you see right here, it states that back in the Hebraic times, there was only 364 days in the calendar. There was not 365. This whole process of daylight savings time was nonsense. It was created by the Roman Empire. The Greco-Roman calendar created the 365 and also the equinox, which was meant equal days, and we're gonna play a quick short clip before we go into our movie, just to wrap up this and for you guys to see. So we're gonna play actually a 5-minute part of this video that gives a little breakdown on the calendar, the times that were done, and how it rivals each other. And then we're gonna come out of that and we're gonna watch the movie, and that'll get you guys out of here in the next 40 minutes. Stick with us. Here we go.
And the Septuagint text with the Masoretic text, it appears that the more accurate rendering in 1 Samuel 20 and 5, David is saying tomorrow is the new month. As I'm finishing this out, I have to give the Bible verse to where this was even prophesied to where we would go wrong with the days. We find it in the book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 37. For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. for they will go wrong as to the months and the Sabbaths and the feasts and the Jubilees. Verse 38. For this reason I command and testify to thee that thou mayest testify to them. For after thy death thy children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days. And for this reason they will go wrong after the new months, not moons, and seasons, and Sabbaths, and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood and all kinds of flesh.
Whoa, nah. Speak on it.
Okay, quick recap, because I want you to keep a few things locked into your mind as we move forward. 1. The equinox and the new year were holy days which got perverted
Holy
by heathen
days.
days. 2. The new moon or lunar calendar is the basis to the calendar in which we observe today. Now, let's get to the correct calendar as it pertains to the Bible, the Enoch calendar. I understand the book of Enoch is not considered a canonical book of the Bible, but it's essential to understanding the original holy calendar. It fully supports the Bible. I know this scares a lot of people, but let's back this up by scripture. Genesis 1 and 14. And God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So here lies the confusion as to what were the celestial signs to determine the year. Most scholars believe this to be the new moon, as I already provided the inconsistencies with this text. So what is the correct sign? I'm going to continue reading from the previous scripture. Genesis 1:16 through 19. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. Take note, the fourth day. That's very important because this is the day the sun and the moon was created. We know that God is a perfect God, so when the sun and the moon was created, this had to be done in perfection as well. This phenomenon occurs today. We call it equinox. Latin
Equinox.
means equal night. Remember this, equal night and equal day. This is not to be confused with the dictionary's definition of what's an equinox. So let's look it up. Equinox, the time when the sun crosses the plane of the Earth's equator, making night and day of approximately equal length all over the Earth. Here's where the confusion lies. The injection of the equator changes the whole definition of the word. They define it by the sun's positioning over the equator, thus resulting in equal day and equal night. The word itself defines its meaning. Equal night and equal day.
The word itself.
Now let's look at the
scripture.
week of creation. As we see, creation had already started 3 days prior to the sun and moon existence. I won't go into the background on how the days of the week were given pagan names, so just note, me using these names is only so that you can identify and relate to them in current day. The first day of the week, Sunday, in Hebrew we simply call it the first day, and this is the day God created light. The most famous verse that everybody knows, let there be light. This is when God separated light from the darkness. Let's check it out in verse. Genesis 1 and 5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Next we have Monday. On the second day, God created the firmament. Genesis 1 and 8. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. Tuesday, on the third day, God created land and trees for fruit to grow. Genesis 1, 10 and 13. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering togethers of the water called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and morning, notice that pattern, evening and morning, were the third day. We'll get back to that later. Now we're back to where we left off. On the fourth day, in which we call Wednesday, in Hebrew we say, in the midst of the weeks, the sun, moon, and stars were created. So what happened next? On Thursday, the fifth day, life was created. Genesis 1 and 20. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that have life, and the fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. Verse 23, and the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Pay close attention here. Life was created on the fifth day, but not man. This is very important and critical to understanding my theory on 365 days in a year. I will reference this information later on when I show you the full calendar. So let us move on to the creation of man. Verse 26, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. I won't read the rest of that verse, but let's move on to verse 31. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and morning were the sixth day. And in just finishing this out, the next day was the seventh day, or Saturday, the Sabbath day, where God rested, and where we get the instructions to rest as well. This structure is very important to understanding the calendar. Now that we understand the days of the week, I want to go back to that evening and morning reference, which is stated in the scriptures after each day was declared. This is important to know as each day begins with darkness, or evening, and ends with daylight. Just like on the first day of creation, darkness already existed. Then the creation of light consisted of the second half of that same day. So now it's time to make some practical application to all of this background information that we went over. Here's an illustration that I created that represents a key for the calendar that I created. So for you to understand what's going on in the calendar, I have to first go over the key that explains everything that's on the calendar. First thing is the Gregorian calendar versus the Hebrew calendar days. Now if you see the light boxes right here, the light gray boxes, they represent each day of a calendar cycle, which we live on, which is the Gregorian calendar. And the boxes that's superimposed on top, you see here, is the Hebrew calendar day. Now, what's most distinctively different from a Gregorian calendar and a Hebrew calendar is how we observe the days in each 24-hour cycle. In the cycle in which we live is the Gregorian calendar. You can notice that it goes from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m., which at midnight to midnight represents an entire day. But in the Hebrew calendar time, 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. is the calendar cycle time. So obviously, there's going to be
Because an
some
event that
overlap
happens
in
at that
time
point.
when we look at days from a Gregorian perspective versus a Hebrew perspective. This is very important because each day on the calendar, in my calendar, is a Hebrew calendar, but in order for us to see how it really lines up with the Gregorian calendar in which we live today, I have it superimposed on the top. So this is why you see a slight 6-hour delay or overlap, which represents that 6-hour period or 6 p.m. time in which we start a Hebrew calendar. This is very important.
Very important.
Now, what's also important for me is always wordplay or contextual background history on why we see these things lining up. So if we look at 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. as the daytime
I'm going to fast forward
cycle,
this part right here. I'm going to fast forward this part because I want to get you guys to this next part. There we go. This is the part. All right, now, when I pull this out, you know, as a quick thing to explain to you guys that we do not believe in GMS or any of those camps, right? So, what I'm about to show you guys is just a coinciding of the holidays. But again, it's going to give you some information about a calendar to the Enoch calendar 2019 of when they're going to practice the Sabbath. We don't necessarily go with those. We're going to post up on our Facebook page the days that we are coinciding with for the Passover. But I want to give you guys this for a second. I'll do it from right here. It'll be a 2-minute piece, 3-minute piece. Then we go to the movie.
The lunar calendar, we're not supposed to do that. Only to the Enoch calendar where we look for the sun and based on stars for the signs, times, okay?
Here we go.
Video like this as a useful tool for truth seekers to be able to connect the dots. Well, the first thing you might ask is, why is this calendar significant? Or why is it important to me? Well, let me give you a scripture first. Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I also reject you as a priest for me. And since you have forgotten the laws of your God, I also will forget your children. Now, with that being said, most of us haven't been taught or haven't realized that how we serve the Most High is directly connected to the days of the year. The holy days, or as we lovingly call the holidays, were created to give glory and honor to the Most High, to remember all that Christ has done and will do. Exodus 20:8 tells us to remember the Sabbath and to keep it holy. Well, unfortunately, we can't keep the Sabbath or the holy days if we don't have the correct days. Well, thus, we're led to what's the correct calendar? Before we get into the correct calendar, I want to give some background on the calendar in which we observe today. The new moon calendar was the official calendar of the Greeks. And when Alexander the Great
Also
conquered the Middle
Islam.
East in the 4th century BCE, the lunar calendar was introduced and was gradually accepted by most of the people. In 172 BCE, King Antiochus appointed Menelaus as Jerusalem's high priest to introduce the Greek way and to completely Hellenize the Hebrew people.
Completely
This
Hellenized the Hebrew
Hellenization
people.
period is important to note because it wasn't just synonymous with the calendar, but it was
Hannibal.
also the period in which the Jews had to denounce their culture as a whole, and now they were considered Gentiles. But I won't get deep into that, and we can discuss it in another video. After King Antiochus, he sent a senator from Athens to give the Hebrew people an ultimatum to forsake the laws of their god Yah and to follow the king's orders or be put to death. So most of the Hebrew people followed the king's orders to save their families, but many were put to death. King Antiochus forced the Hebrew people to celebrate the birthday of the month every month at the time of the moon's first visibility. In 167 BCE, King Antiochus returned to Jerusalem after his second campaign in Egypt, and he immediately banned the Hebrew religion and the Enoch calendar, which is the original calendar that they observed, and prohibited all religious practices. He dedicated the temple in Jerusalem to Zeus, the Lord of Heaven,
black
or
people.
all Shaman, and ordered the Hebrew men to worship Zeus and to practice in the festivals honoring Dionysus, Zeus' son, who was later called Bacchus.
Bacchus! Bing, bing, bing,
This
bing.
festival was called Bacchanalia. All my New Orleans people, take note. This festival
Wow.
was held on March 16th and March 17th to pollute the Hebrew spring equinox day and the New Year's Day. The Dionysus Bacchus festival is still celebrated to this day. And what's it called? Mardi Gras. And it includes the Bacchus parade. The date of this celebration was later changed by the Roman Catholics to be the day before Ash Wednesday, and the New Year's Day, which was March 17th, was later changed to another holiday, St. Patrick's Day. Now, Look how they changed the holy days and put heathen days on our actual days. Now, interestingly enough, St. Patrick's Day is coming on our new day, which is spring, life, plants, and how St. Patrick's Day represents green clothes, green hats, green food, green drinks, etc. But don't be fooled. St. Patrick's Day is still a heathen day.
Yep.
Now, let's get into this new moon concept because it's created a lot of confusion as it concerns the calendar. In 359 CE, Hillel II introduced the fixed calculated new moon calendar, which is based on the lunar calendar, which is observed by the Jewish people and others to this day. It's
Islam
used to
and
determine
Jewish.
the first day and the months of the annual feast days. However, the term new moon, Yareya Kadash, is never mentioned anywhere in the original Hebrew text. When you find new moon in the English translation of the Bible and cross-reference it with the Hebrew text, you will find the word Kodesh, which
Kodesh.
means new month, not new moon. Now, I
The
want to be
Ruach.
honest and say we don't know if the translators mixed these words up or if it was done intentionally, but I'm just bringing out how I see the facts. Kodesh literally means new month. Kadesh means new. We also see this confusion with Yarak and Yareak. Yarak means month. Yareak means moon. So if we look in our Bibles, which states new moon, we look in the Hebrew text, like I stated before, we should find Yareak Kadesh, which we cannot find in the Hebrew Bible. Yareak is the Hebrew literal word for moon, which is also used in Deuteronomy 4 and 19 and also 2 Kings 23 and 5. But also when we look at the Septuagint, which is a Greek text translated from an earlier Hebrew text, the
All
Greek
right.
word used here is naumenia. Now this is a compound word.
All right. So I just want to give you guys that. Let us switch these things around again. Yeah. Hold up. Hold up.
Y'all ready?
Ooh.
Y'all ready?
All right. We took care of the Most High's business right there. I sure hope that he's pleased with the business that we just showed you guys on the Exodus, the Gregorian calendars, the way that they've switched our holidays, the way that they put our feast days, how they put their holidays next to our feast days, how they've changed the dates and the times, all to confuse us. And then us as Hebrews in the community, the ones that are really reading, they want to bash on somebody. Oh, that ain't the right one. You using this calendar. You using that calendar. That ain't the... All of these calendars, the reason why it's so rough, because understand that when these days are written, our feast days are, our holy days and feast days are by the moon and the sun. So on particular mountains, you have to stand on in Jerusalem, and from the first time they see the moon there, or from the first time they see the sun there, not in New Orleans or in North America, according to these scriptures. So the date changes according to the Most High. How do you know when the Most High changes the date from the third day to the fifth day? He changes his moon and the sun. So you go on when his new moon is, when his new month is. This is how it goes. So we are going to have a confusion within our community on exactly what days we are supposed to be representing our Father or the celebrations of our ancestors. It's going to be some confusion in that. But the more you are trying your best to seek his face and to understand what was done so that you can do what you feel or what the Ruach HaKodesh is going to tell you, hey, you should feel comfortable trying to do it here until somebody gives you some more information or can give you some more scriptural understanding for you to change it. But it is for you to make your individual, what we say, my brother?
Individual salvation.
Individual salvation. So you make your walk and try and find these dates. But you know that Passover, there's many calendars, but remember that you want to check that calendar that is running off the sun and not a lunar calendar. You want to make sure that that calendar is taking into account Passover. Uh, yeah, and he will. What I wanted to say was that make sure that that calendar is being started from someone standing on Mount Zion or Mount, I forgot the Gilgamesh, I forgot the other mountain that you stand on to get these different dates and times. But that's what you want to check with your calendar. You want to check, and we usually have gone by MrHebrew1.com because they have friends and family in Jerusalem and Yasharallah, and they are standing on the mountains and telling them when the sun and when the moon is rising on the mountain Sinai. So I believe it's Mount Sinai. Yeah. So that's the whole thing about it. But if you're not wrapping your mind around the dates and the calendar between the lunar and the sun is confusing you, just know that it's in April, is the Passover. Understand the 7 days. All right, get that together. Do your 7 days. Make sure you got unleavened out of your house. Make sure you don't eat any leavened bread, and make sure that the ending of your 7 days is a Sabbath. That's your criteria to know right now that you can have control over. Knowing that your 7th day ends on a Shabbat, meaning that it should start with a Shabbat, 7 to 7 should be a bookend Shabbat, right? So, bookend Shabbat, giving up 7 days of leavened bread, of flour in your life, all the way around. So, with that said, it is time. We have gone a full 57 minutes for the Most High. So this last 25 minutes will be for our kingdom work and the movie Downtown Inyan Culture. So let's get it going.
It's time, yo.
Got to cut the TV on, huh? Got to get the projections going, y'all. Oh yeah, suck it. Make sure y'all get that full wide view so y'all can catch everything. All right. So we got our fair use, right? So we got our fair use up there. That's because we have a lot of information. We've gathered from many sources. We're going to cut some lights out so y'all can get the full movie feel. The city of New Orleans was called Tchoupitoulas by the black native tribes found here by the Europeans. In 1828, Webster Dictionary defines an American as a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. In 1843, after Noah Webster died, George and Charles Merriam bought the rights to the Webster Dictionary from the Webster estate, and they altered the original definition of American to suit the European ideas of manifest destiny. Prior to the name New Orleans, this land was said to be called West Florida by the Roman explorers from 440 AD in the Josephus Maccabeus map. Likened to Atlantis, Tchoupitoulas, or New Orleans, was one of the richest places on the four corners of the earth, until this day is referred to as West Florida by Chief Warhorse of the Tchefunctia Nation. We are taught history inverted or backwards in the American school system. Through research, we found that the Hebrew Moors lived in Iberia and Africa as far back as the time of the Carthaginians, or who we know as the Phoenicians. We are taught that the slave trade brought Africans in 1619 to America, when in fact the Spanish slave trade and the persecution of the Hebrew Moors on the Iberian Peninsula started in the Reconquista from 711 to 1492. This was a period of war between the Islamic Moors and the Catholic Christians. In 1300s, Aboriginal copper-colored natives of Americas were brought to Europe and to the European colonies in Africa such as Angola and Ghana, known then as Negro Land. During the same period, Hebrew Moors were fleeing the Spanish Iberian Peninsula for the Isles of America and Africa. Between 1355 and 1415, 300,000 of Spain's black Hebrews, European Jews, and Islamic Moors were forced to convert to Catholicism or be expelled from the Iberian Peninsula of Spain. In 1391, led by Ferran Martinez, Spanish archdeacon, Hebrews were sold to Muslim Moors as slaves and their prayer books were stolen. Martinez set in motion the largest forced mass conversion of Hebrews to Catholicism in Spain. The remaining openly practicing Sephardic Hebrew Moors were expelled by the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Castile. In 1449, the conversos, or Spanish Jews that chose to convert to Catholicism and could prove their whiteness, were subject to the purity of blood laws. In 1492, a group of conversos financed the gold-seeking, human trafficking voyage of who we know as Christopher Columbus. Columbus was sent to claim and subjugate the territory known today as Haiti. Luis Torres was a Hebrew Moor who performed the role of interpreter for Christopher Columbus on his first American voyage. Luis Torres came from a cultural lineage of able seafaring men, maritime traders, and global adventurers. We are going to show you through these films that the indigenous history of New Orleans is directly connected to the evolution of mankind nationally and globally. One clear example of this unforgettable mark made by Aboriginal New Orleanians in the history books happened less than 300 years ago. In early 1700s, Jean-Baptiste Point du Sabal, a native Haitian trader, trapper, and farmer, met a native Chitimacha Indian of New Orleans. Together, Dusabal and the Chitimacha from New Orleans traveled up north to the cousins of the Chitimacha, where Dusabal met and married the cousins of the Chitimacha, a Potawatomi Indian named Katawa. Together at the mouth of the Ishikago River on the site of the current Tribune Towers, they started an 800-acre family fur trading post in Ishikago, which is now known as the city of Chicago. The Chicago natives and Dusabal united to slow down the European settlement. Till this day, from Chicago to New Orleans to Haiti, these same Aboriginals have been bearing the load and pain resulting from economic constraints, resource deprivation, and cultural appropriation. These vices were purposely brought by the Europeans to Turtle Island, North America, along with alcohol and broken trees. Centuries of European corruption through miseducation, bombardment of synthetic drugs from pharmaceuticals to cocaine, and the forced religious conversions or slaughters of the Aboriginal, labeled savages by the Pope left behind monumental barriers to preserving our culture.
In the wrong part of town, singing in the wrong part of town. Catching the 911 going out, catching the 911 going out. You're in the wrong part of town, you're in the wrong part of town. Catching the 711 going out, catching the 711 going out. Five boys do the signal when they do that trouble. They got a big gang coming and they ready to rumble. One man go to body, get them all pop, block, shoot, boom, boom, shoot around the block. Say if they shoot the wrong signal, somebody might die. Automatic bomb on it, don't ask me why. Say praying like all I do.
The forced worship of false idols like Caesar Borgia, the illegitimate son of Pope Alexander VI, who is internationally projected as the image of Jesus Christ, has misled and misguided generations of American aboriginals for centuries.
Oh yeah.
From historically documented eras of paper genocide and overt reclassification of black Indians as Negroes or other U.S. census-generated classifications, Europeans have infused drunken gods of revelry like Bacchus into our spiritual processions called second lines and our black Indian ceremonies. We are going to show the true history of a resilient remnant that still maintains their cultural practices despite the sunken fangs of colonialism.
Yeah, be the pretty big chick on the holiday. In the wrong part of town, in the wrong part of town. Catching the 911 going out, catching the 911 going out. In the wrong part of town, in the wrong part of town. Catching the 711 going out, catching the 711 going out. Way downtown where the roots are from, to the South Carolina, hell, what we call them.
Not all African people got here through the slave trade before this place was called America or before Louisiana was a part of America. So I always relate this culture to the indigenous people. Africans have explored many parts of the world, not just Louisiana, many years before what we know as the transatlantic slave trade. You can go to Poverty Point, this northern Louisiana, and you will see mounds. And mounds are just, to me, examples of pyramids that you'll find on the continent of Africa. So it's the same pretty much culture that you'll find here in Louisiana. So when it refers to the culture that we call the Mascan Indians or the Black Indians, that people may refer to as the Mardi Gras Indians, so when we refer to the Africans paying homage when it relates to this quote-unquote Mardi Gras Indian tradition, we say, who exactly are we paying homage to? Masking is not new for us. You know, when you go back 1,000 years in the history of Africa, you'll find that we wore feathers, that we had a masking culture. When you look at the beating system, you know, I always relate the system that we use with the Black Indians in New Orleans to the Nigeria style of beating, which is the Yoruba style of beating. This culture is really a culture that comes from our existence as indigenous people of the land.
There were actually Black Indians here. They wasn't African. They wasn't red men. We were Black Indians here. One thing I liked about the Pocahontas, you got a good tambourine practice. It's power coming out. Everybody's singing that from their heart. Their home, to that tambourine. So all kinds of things. Call it a little tambourine. I admire Tuli Montana.
Tuli was the only chief that ever masked and was a head. I tell you, was the father of 100 and some people masked with him in Indians.
Because everybody won't try to be the one. But I feel like it was only one. It was Tuli Montana.
Y'all Montana, who taught me everything, comes from Tuli Montana, which is a great legacy.
I masked with Tuli Montana since I was 12 years old, for about 25 years.
And I was his flag for 20 years.
It's where I got everything I know now. You know what I'm saying? He's always gonna be my chief of chiefs.
Great man, still a great chief. He always be my heart. He always be my chief.
You know, and when he walked up, if they had an Indian, I didn't care who they were. Uncle Tootie and my dad would walk up with the two songs. All attention went toward them.
Without Tootie, man, there would have never been an Indian downtown. You know, without his dad, there would have been a 7 Ward Indian. 7 Ward Indian we make one of the beautiful suits you want to see, my God. Jerome Smith, a Tamarina fan, is another inspiration in this Indian culture thing. We were taught this. And sewing, second lining, and every aspect of what we were doing.
Yeah, the tambourine, and I started. Early in the morning when I leave my home, I go up in the hollow with the Indian song. Oh boy,
He was the chief of the Monogram Hunter. Jerome was actually a teacher of children. And you know, he saved a lot of lives. He saved me.
And what she said.
She was, her famous quote was, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Originally, my daddy, suits was flat like everybody else. That was about in 1963. He brought everything out.
There's a guy by the name of Cornell. He showed a lot of cats all through the 70s, some in other places, how to do some of that three-dimensional work.
The Yellow Coat Hunters, 7 Ward Indians that do these three-dimensional, what they call creative art. That was usually called the downtown Indian style.
They make designs and abstract people.
Downtown design, you might have one piece that may have 11 or 12 pieces to that one piece.
21, 24, 25, 26. To make that one, just that one piece, that 26 pieces to that.
He called it a three-dimensional image, which is very pretty.
Mathematics and all that come in these suits.
You gotta learn how to use that ruler, you know what I'm saying?
Each bead, you know, each design is basically the same size, and you can look at each design and tell how you do that. Mathematics. And I buck and bow, that comes just what I wanted to do. And it's well balanced, because guess what? You know, never do this. It's always with me. It become part of me. The suits, when they made it right and they fit you, they become part of it.
Once you put a mask on, you're not a person anymore. You become the energy or the entity of what it is that you're masking. So, you know, we look at this year-long process of being as prayer beings, and then eventually you taking that beaded thing and making this temple. And you taking that temple, you put that temple on, and you transform into that mask.
As you see, everything is 3D. You know, we so taking nothing away from uptown. That's our culture too. There's only one culture.
Now I sew with beads, which is an uptown thing. And I mix beads with sequins. Downtown was a sequin Indian. But I mix beads with my work now.
This uptown, downtown style doesn't really hold true anymore?
All Indians make these suits, not costumes.
You don't say costume.
Clown wear costume.
Because I look at this as living art, you know, so it's living history for us. And it's also evolving history.
My artwork comes from my training. The majority of the suits that I have created is animals. So this is a whole sheet.
Times you don't find Native American demon or Native Indigenous demon suits. You find abstract demon, or maybe African demon or something like that.
I'm not about uptown, not about downtown, not about back of town. You know what? I'm about the spirit of fire.
I tell you Indian boys, there's only two kinds of people. And everybody say uptown and downtown, and it's not so long. There's only two kinds of Indians, and that's innovators and duplicators.
It's changed now. But what we do, we feel, is on the top level of the ostrich plumes, bees, and dinosaurs.
We hear many stories about what style is harder, what style takes longer. And I can honestly tell you, I've done both styles. And so you're going to have to sew no matter what style you're doing. So
You have to respect the stitches because they have just as many stitches as the people. It's just two different cultures.
It's a funny thing how you pick up something and you don't know how powerful it is. But I haven't put the needle and trigger down since 1994.
That seat right there with that light in front of it, I sit there, I spend about 5,000 hours a year in that spot.
You feed them, take thousands of hours goes into it. You know, and help from everybody that love it.
Because nobody can make this stuff by themselves.
And you're gonna need the community, you're gonna need your family.
The Queens is the backbone, keep them in order. Nobody understand that because a lot of the guys, I don't have that problem with my guys. They all humbuggers. And if you don't have a woman in that group or a queen, sometimes a woman period, in that group to tell them, hey, we have never had no humbugging in our group, we not gonna allow it. And I think that's one reason why my husband never got into it.
You sow all year long. And you sow the culture. So if I'm sowing all year long, the majority of the time that I'm sowing, I'm happy.
This is what shows that you are doing the work yourself, is when you can show those battle scars, as I call them, where your hand craftsmanship is proof.
It's been times when things get down on me, I go grab the needles and pray. So all night long. People sleeping, snoring, and everything. You still up?
Yep. You might hear Indians singing, no ramba shayana, no ramba shayana. I turn all around now, I bring it down to the ground now. No ramba shayana, ramba shay. You know what that word means? Bang. You know what means no ramba shay.
To me, all Indians are pretty. I haven't seen no other Indian. Anybody who dress, I respect what they do because I know what they take.
You know what I'm saying? When you say you're an Indian, everybody, you respect every Indian that participates, mind you. If a man got one design on it and you look like this and he come down the street, he got one design on him, don't disgrace him. No, man, you don't know what he had to do that.
But Indian is key and everything else come after that.
Even though we are powerful one at a time, when we pull us all together, we that much more. Out of big team. That's what that is. Won't bow down, don't know. I make a caterpillar crawl and slip the wall. And when I get into the top, I damn the fall.
It's just the power of the Negro, right?
You know, it's like to not have us, this is how serious it is. To not have us is like gumbo without the seasoning.
When he first married, he married 5 years before he put a crown on. He could sing, he could dance, and he could discuss his costume. And his costume was never seen as a costume. It was his person. So the man tambourine comes from this. No bomba comes from this. Don't care where I go, city council, New York, wherever I've been, I took the spirit of my neighborhood with me. What's the name of your daycare? What's the name of the camp? What's the name of the camp? What's the name of the camp? And
Well, that is our movie, but we want to bring you guys attention to at the end of the credits, there will be a glossary that explains the Moor. We use a term called Hebrew Moor in here. Before the Latins or the Spanish took over their reign of the Spanish slave trade, the word Negro was not known. Every person of color was known as a Moor, M-U-U-R. After the Spanish slave trade and Negroes became a classification, that is when the M-O-O-R became attributed to the Moors or the Islamic Moors, black Islamics. So here at the end we give the Iberian Peninsula. We give who Ferdinand Martinez is. We give the definition of a converso Jew. We give the definition of Jean Baptiste, and also the Chitimacha Indians, the Patawa, Pope Alexander, Caesar Borgia, the census, and the Dawes Roll. And special thanks to Data News Weekly for publishing our 42 tribes and my father, Terry Jones. I want to thank my family for their support.
What do you think?
Yeah. So we would like to hear some questions, some opinions of everything. Tell us what you guys think. That's been our kingdom work for the last 2.5, 3 years. Uh, yeah, so I saw a lot of people making comments during the show. So I guess Facebook is on a bit of a delay. I see a thumbs up from my sister Tamara. But yes, give us any comments on the information that we gave. Last night we debuted it at St. Joseph Night.
Yes.
And thank you, sister. Last night we debuted it with Shaka Zulu, big chief of the Golden Feather Hunters. He had his burial on launch, representing the downtown culture, the three-dimensional. So the beer is called three-dimensional. He had an exhibit with his suits, and we showed the movie. We did 3 showings of it last night. Got some really good feedback.
Great feedback.
And it was a group of all types. I think we even had a kid or 2 in there. But all ages, all creeds and colors. And what we received was people really said they wanted to. This was information that they wish more people knew, that they wish they knew prior to to last night, and the ones that knew, which was interesting. We also not just having the beer. My brother Oba was able to get us catered. You know what I'm saying? The Most High be working, right? So at the last minute, Oba was able to get Nirvana, the Indian restaurant, to provide catering for us. And one of the ladies that was serving, the niece, Caucasian, and she had told, oh, well, you tell her, you had the conversation with her.
She said a lot of things, but even today she was saying that she had never planned to have such experiences because she's such an introverted person. So I met her a year before at an event and just reconnecting with her. She said that it felt really meant to be that she was able to watch this and then be in a room surrounded by all these different people and learn so much with so many different people about something that actually happened. Whether it was painful or whether it wasn't for some people, it's something that we all learned together in a room.
Yes.
And it was very significant. So Nirvana gives thumbs up.
Yeah, and Denise, one of the things that struck me that Oba said that she spoke on was that she said she knew this information, that and that she just she knew the information, and in her mind she had deduced or she had come up with that the transatlantic slave trade and the Spanish slave trade was a giant circle, and that it took people from the Americas, brought them to Spain, then brought them to Africa, and then the British got into the slave trade and pulled those same slaves from the Spanish slave colonies in southern Africa, in the Sudan, and then brought them back to America, to North America for slavery here. So she said that she had thought that, but it was never laid out like that in history. That it was always given diversions, other things were,
Pieces.
yeah, given pieces. So she said that she was glad that she wasn't crazy. Is actually the words she said. Like, I knew I wasn't crazy. This is what I thought. So what we're finding is that, and as we always say on Hebrew State of Being, we've all been duped. It is not just a black thing. It is an entire nation that has been given erroneous information by a few that are demonic and have designs on being in control and having us as a slave race. And that's not just black. Believe me, it may look as though as Caucasians are doing better because their police seems to be killing our people and their children aren't being killed. But believe me, the financial crunch, the societal crunch is upon them as well, and they've been lied to. They've been told that they were in a superior position and to act accordingly because we were such bad people. They were lied to. They were pushed that we were bad people. Psalms 83. Thank you for that precept, sister. So we see that we are, all of us have been put in this web of lies, this sleep, and we're finding that the more people than we would think are happy to know the real information or to have the information given to them in the proper perspective. In a proper perspective. So, and like what you said, Kiara, that the information opened up the floor for people to have to be vulnerable and still be lovely. Yes, yes. And he said so many much diversity last night. And however, it was nice to have the video and to have everyone on one accord. Yes. I would definitely say that everybody was on one accord.
I agree.
We didn't have one person say no. No, not true. Said ain't so. And if you guys, you guys saw the first 5 parts, we hit on some very sensitive subjects.
Really did.
We really hit the Caesar Borgia being the false image of Yahushua or the Jesus Christ image that they've given us. I mean, we put it out there that the Baptist church has pushed this through their prosperity churches. We gave you images of that. We said that Bacchus, which we also saw as we were doing our Exodus, that Bacchus is Dionysus, and that is the Roman god that they worshipped, and that it's Bacchanal, and then became from Bacchanal to Mardi Gras, but yet we still have a Bacchus crew here. So we put a lot of this information right after Mardi Gras to all these people that really were there because they think they enjoy the Mardi Gras traditions and not knowing that they enjoy the carnival traditions, but that this demonic influence has consumed it. That's the best way I can, say it, because we want to continue to give this message with love. We're not here to bash. We're here to be emphatic about the information, but we're not here to point fingers and or wag fingers. Pointing, we are pointing fingers. This is that, and this is what this is. But we're not wagging our finger at people. We are giving this information and hoping that everybody can see it to be truth and nothing else. I would hope that we would get more comments. We got 7 people up here at least. That's what Facebook is saying. I guess a lot of people are speechless after this. So, we have to get used to this.
Send us a message in the inbox. Just let us know what the deal is.
Yeah.
What you think might be needed to be added for the full-length movie. Where your mind's at.
Yeah.
Let us know.
So we've done a show for the night, I do believe. Yes, we've been at it for 90 minutes. So we will next week, Friday rather, on Shabbat, we will be continuing. I think we will continue this chapter 12. We'll finish this chapter 12 Exodus out, and then we're gonna make a giant tackle. We're gonna wrap our arms around it at Leviticus. And we are gonna start reading Leviticus as we have gone through the Wisdom of Solomon. Um, and he said, truly that people are still digesting. Yeah, truly, I know people are still digesting, and I hope that people rewatch this show and rewatch the film. The next time, for people that want to see it on the full length, we are saying to sign up at blackmasking.org, and we're going to send out an email. We are planning to have a very large screening of both the downtown Inyan culture and the uptown Inyan culture being showcased at a theater in New Orleans. So that is coming soon, within the next 2 months. So sign up so you can get your email. Because again, it probably will be for free, but you will have to have signed up on the email to actually get your admission. So, yeah, man, my brother and I are very tired. We put a lot of work in, so we are. What you see from us tonight is just the after effects of a long evening. I was gonna go and do a song, but I cut the thing off. So we're just gonna end the show. I was gonna put a song off to end the show, but yeah, it's been a long one. So we're going to rest, and like I say, see you guys for Shabbat. And hopefully you guys we'll do a little more conversation about the movie. We may even show another little clip on it for Shabbat, just so that that 5 minute part. We may just play that intro part again for everyone, so people can really digest the information of us saying where we come from. We are telling you that the Hebrews, after the Exodus of Egypt that we're reading about, went to many parts. Yes, they went down into Africa and they went west. Yeah. We can talk about the several, before the Romans came there, the different settlements that were there, the Carthagins, which is all that area. When you come down out of Exodus, and if you're going west, you hit that B line, you're gonna run into Carthage, you're gonna run into the Phoenicians, where that word Tyre. You're gonna you go further down to the south, you're gonna get into Senegal, and then you're gonna get into Benin and so forth, and the Slave Coast, and then you're gonna get over to Safar, because Safar is right there past Carthage. It's right there. Carthagin is right here off of Africa, and Spain is right there. I mean, it's literally a little, just, it's the Gibraltar, right? It's the,
Straight of Gibraltar.
thank you, thank you. So let me just give y'all this as a little mind twist. We always hear about the Straits of Gibraltar, right? You hear about it in all these great movies about Leonardo da Vinci and all these fights and everything. Man, the Straits of Gibraltar sends you into Carthage. It's the land divide between Iberian Peninsula and Carthage, which we show you was Phoenicians, was Hannibal, right? So before the Roman Empire came, these were Hebrews and Carthaginians and Phoenicians, all in this little hub at the Straits of Gibraltar. That's where we fled after this Exodus. Then the Roman Empire came. Then we fled in as early as the 300s. We started fleeing to the Americas. Then 1,000 years later, 1200s, we're going through the Reconquistas. We're still fleeing to the Americas. We get all the way up to 1492, where we're finally kicked out officially by Spain. And 5 conversos, 5 European Jews, paid Christopher Columbus to come and get 500 of the same Hebrews that fled from that area to the Americas. Yeah, and then the story starts. So, y'all have a good night. We pray that we have given you guys the information that you needed. Keep on going forward. Seek his face. for your individual salvation. And we just gave you guys our kingdom work for our individual salvation. We both pray that when we are at that second judgment, that second death, that's a nice big pretty thing shining. All right, Glenn, you know, Kyle, you did some things, but you made up for some things with that one. All praises.
Hallelujah.
You got anything you want to say, my brother, before we end out of here?
It is time to go lay down.
Yeah.
I love you.
Shalom.